Yeah, and he has had quite a transcendently hectic day, from the morning programs and initiation at Sri Radharani Temple, and has now just traveled from New Jagannath Puri in Phoenix. But he has made the time to spend this day with us. He is truly an inspiration. We thank him for making this time for us. Without further ado, I hand you over to Maharaj.
To be alive, and I mean not just in the materials. So there's a lot of mercy available. In Krishna consciousness, there's always mercy available. There's always a lot of mercy. But today, well, on the special festive occasion days, there's extra special mercy, because on whatever the day is, the particular person involved is more particularly available. Yes. And they always hear us, but they particularly hear us on these very special festival days, which are related to them, particularly in this case, Srimati Radharani. Srimati Radharani, of course, is Krishna's pleasure potency. And we should understand what it means when we say pleasure potency. Pleasure potency, in the case of Krishna at least, means that he not that he just likes to be as they say, I think in South Africa, you can correct me if I'm wrong, a big jolla. Did I get something right? Big jolla, whatever that means. Getting drunk. Is that a big jolla? No? Yes? Smoking dhaka, is that a big jolla, or not necessarily? What's a big jolla then? Oh, womanizing. Oh my God. Amazing. I say you're pretty explicit, aren't you? Yeah. Or how about you like hanging out at the beach? Is that a jolla? Not so much. Sure. Womanizing. I see. Okay, I get it. Of course, some people accuse Krishna of that, but it's not true. It's really not true. It's something else altogether. But Krishna's pleasure potency means that he gets great pleasure from being loved by his devotees. And in this context, when we say being loved, we mean being served. That's what we mean. Being served in affectionate ways from the heart, because the devotee wants to do something for Krishna's pleasure, not because the devotee feels that I do something for Krishna because I want something from him. Like Prabhupada was asked once, what is the result of chanting Hare Krishna. And the person was thinking in terms of that the result of chanting Hare Krishna might be you get money, or you get a better house, or a better job, or a better something material, some material facility if you chant. Like, actually, I had the experience. I've quite possibly talked about it here before, but I had the experience in the Radharani temple in Durban. I had the experience of one man coming every morning like 8 o'clock or something like that. And he would bring every day, he would bring paper plate with one banana, one 250 milliliters clover, full cream milk, not skim milk, but full cream, one agabati, and one burfi. I remember to this day, it was many years ago, this man would come with these things every day. Ek kela, ek doot, 250 milliliter. Yeah, ek agabati and ek burfi. Yeah. So one of these days I asked him, what's going on? What are you doing? And he said, yes, I have taken a vow to every morning offer to Krishna these things. One banana, can you have it so it swings? Oops. Because, I don't like it just blowing on me. Yeah, so he said, I've taken a vow to bring one banana, one burfi, one little bottle of milk, and one agabati. And the agabati he would stick in the banana. And I don't know if you've eaten bananas or things which have had agabati stuck in them for long enough. Your banana picks up the flavor of the agabati, which doesn't enhance the flavor of the agabati. So anyway, he said, I've taken a vow to do this, to offer this to Krishna. And after the 1 month, he told me, I want from Krishna a new car. And I thought, gee, that would be a good deal, wouldn't it? Just one banana, one burfi, one little bottle of milk, and one agabati a day for 30 days, and you expect a new BMW, he said, actually. So this is material, it's not spiritual. Spiritual and love. Well, I mentioned the chanting first. That what is the result of chanting? Srila Prabhupada said, the result of chanting is more chanting. You get a taste for it, and you really get a wonderful experience from it. So you like to carry on, but really service to Krishna, Krishna consciousness means we like to do things for the pleasure of the Lord, and we're not looking for something in return, just to be able to do some service. But of course, Krishna is not an ingrate. He's not an ungrateful person. So if we do service for him like that, he reciprocates. But we don't make or try to make a deal with him that I will chant and you will give me. and if you don't give me, I will not chant. Krishna, his pleasure is to be served, to be loved by the devotees, and then to offer love, to give love. This is Krishna's pleasure. And that's what it means when we say Radharani is Krishna's pleasure potency. She is his potency, his Shakti for accepting the love of the devotees in whatever form they're able to offer it, and then reciprocating, giving some love. That's Radharani. And therefore we should try to offer service to Krishna and to Srimati Radharani. We should do like that, and then we will get mercy. I want to read a couple of verses, a few verses actually, from Chaitanya Charitamrita, the Adi Leela, chapter 4. I think it needs a service, or actually, this is South Africa. We're used to the heat. Okay, whatever. So here's some verses from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela, chapter 4. And I can say that if you want to understand Srimati Radharani, understand the gopis and their relationships with Krishna, and particularly Srimati Radharani herself, if you want to understand these things from Srila Prabhupada's books, then you should read Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela, chapter 4, because that's where you find so much information, really like very profound in many details. But I'll read a few of the verses now, and please listen carefully, and then we'll say a few things of explanation and so on. So this is one verse. Radhika Hayena Krishna Pranaya Vikara Swarupa Shakti Hladani Nama Yanhara, which means Srimati Radhika, which is of course the name of Radharani. Her name is Radha or Radharani. Radha means worshipper, one who worships. And Rani means queen. She's the queen of those who worship Lord Krishna. And Radhika, it's the same actually in Hindi. Radhika means of. Of. So she is of the worshippers. She's the best of the worshippers. Srimati Radhika is the transformation of Krishna's love. She is his internal energy called Hladani. That Hladani energy gives Krishna pleasure and nourishes his devotees. Nourishes, yes. That Hladani potency, it's the potency, the Shakti of Krishna's love, or Radharani's love for Krishna, and it nourishes the devotees because Srimati Radharani is overseeing all the devotees. She is the deity, the presiding deity of devotional service to Krishna. and the queen of worshippers and servants of Krishna. And she's overseeing all the other servants and devotees of Krishna. And she embodies the pleasure potency. So when Krishna is served, as we said, with love, he enjoys it. He enjoys being loved. And when he is loved, he reciprocates with those who are expressing their love through some service. So the devotees means people who are serving Krishna. And when they serve Krishna, then some of that love which he is relishing, he reciprocates by giving that to the devotees. So it's really an amazing experience, actually, that the devotees have, that by rendering service to Krishna, which in other words is an expression of love, then Krishna reciprocates, and the devotees feel that within themselves. How some reciprocation is happening. It's coming. And it's not like when people do something enjoyable where they get some sort of something out of what they're doing. But they're just serving. They're just trying to please. And without trying to get something for themselves, they feel they are getting something. So therefore, the verse says that this Radharani potency, this potency of love of Krishna, the devotees feel it when they render some service. So it nourishes the devotees. Even I remember when I was young, when I was 21, I was traveling the world more or less, and I had basically decided not to work again. I had retired at the age of 21, I felt, because I didn't like working. Did I have the right idea? Anyway, who likes working? Not many. So I decided I wouldn't work again, and I was in London. I was visiting the Hare Krishna temple, and one day, actually the first day that I visited the temple, I was there for several hours, and at one point a devotee asked me if I would like to do something to help. And I thought, oh, I'm a guest. You know, you're meant to look after your guests. You don't ask them to work. But I was an easygoing fellow, so I said, oh, okay. And you know what they asked me to do? On the first day that I visited a Hare Krishna temple, I was not a long-standing visitor for irregularly visiting. On the very first day, it's amazing, they asked me to clean the toilets. Can you imagine what poor taste in terms of interacting with guests? So anyway, I said, oh, okay. And I started cleaning the toilets. and I noticed, within 2 minutes, I was feeling good. It was just such a vivid experience, actually. And I thought, okay, I've decided not to work again in just ordinary terms. But this working for Krishna, this is really good. So I don't mind doing that. And you know, that was almost 50 years ago, and I'm still doing it, so it is good. So the essence of the Radharani potency Krishna's pleasure potency, his love potency. The essence of the Radharani potency is love of God. The essence of love of God is emotion or bhava. And the ultimate development of emotion is mahabhava. I mean, these are little technical terms. Mahabhava basically means there are many different there are a number of different types of ecstasies which are experienced in different ways in devotional service. Mahabhava means when they're all mixed together, in simple terms. Sri Radha Thakurani is the embodiment of Mahabhava. She is the repository of all good qualities and the crest jewel among all the lovely consorts of Lord Krishna. Oh, are you all right? Wow, thank you. You're too kind. Hare Krishna. Right. So she's the repository of all good qualities and the crest jewel among all the lovely consorts of Lord Krishna. The beloved consorts of Lord Krishna are of three kinds in ascending order, starting from the lower, going up, and then there's three levels. So lower, middle, and the upper. So three kinds. First of all, the goddesses of fortune, Lakshmi, the Lakshmis. Then above the Lakshmis are the queens in Dwarika. Queens in Dwarika. Then the highest level are the milkmaids or the gopis of Vrindavan, who are the foremost of all. These consorts all proceed from Radhika. I hope you got that. Just as the fountainhead Lord Krishna is the cause of all incarnations, so Sri Radha is the cause of all these consorts. Do you get the implication of that? That is really very deep. That all these female associates of Lord Krishna, that beginning on the lowest level with Mahalakshmi and her expansions, the different Lakshmis or goddesses of fortune, they all come from Srimati Radharani. And then the queens in Dwarika, headed by Rukmini, and then Satyabhama and various others. Krishna, just when he was here 5,000 years ago, he had 16,108 queens. And he expanded himself to be with each one individually 24/7, not one day with one, the next day with the second one, and 16,108 days later, he'd spend a day with the last one. No, all of them simultaneously. And that's just on this planet. That's not the total number by any means. So that's the second level. But they're all expansions from Srimati Radharani and reflect her nature in different ways. Each one manifests different characteristics of Radharani. And then there's the gopis. Yes, and the gopis also, that each one is manifesting different aspects of her character or her appearance. I mean, this is very amazing. Just like Krishna is the source of all the avatars, every single one, down to Vishnu, Mahavishnu, Kshirodakshai Vishnu. So, okay. So it continues that the goddesses of fortune, the Lakshmis, are partial manifestations of Srimati Radhika, and the queens are reflections of her image. There's some difference there. It's a bit subtle, but it's there. The goddesses of fortune are partial manifestations, and the queens in Dwaraka are reflections of her image. Got to think about these things sometimes. And then here's a nice verse, another nice verse. Listen to this. Govinda Nandini Radha, Govinda Mohini, Govinda Sarvasva Sarva Kanta Shiromani. Radha, which means Radha, is the one who gives pleasure to Govinda, Govinda being a name of Krishna. Radha is the one who gives pleasure to Krishna, and she is also the enchantress of Govinda. She is the be-all and end-all of Govinda, and the crest jewel of all his consorts. This is Radharani. You know, I suspect we haven't really thought about Radharani, or just not aware of different elements in the picture of who is Radharani to this degree, but try to take this in and absorb it and consider it and consider the implications, and in this way develop your understanding and appreciation of Srimati Radharani. Who is she? She's not just, a great devotee. Like here we have our assembled here at the moment, 60 devotees or whatever it may be. And amongst all of you, I'm sure there is one who is more advanced than the others of you. Don't mind me saying it. And I'm sure it's like that. Not all devotees are on the same level. So there's one who's the best, okay, amongst everyone here. But Radharani is not just the best amongst the devotees. She is a super being, a super being, in that all these incredible people, the queen, the Lakshmis, and there's an infinite number, the queens of Dwaraka, and queens when Krishna is in other positions, like as Lord Ram. Sita is his queen. So all those queens, they are expanded from Radharani. They are Radharani, but just she's only manifesting a little bit, showing a little bit of who she is. And then the gopis. And it's the same thing there. So yeah, we should consider who is Radharani and try to appreciate. Srila Prabhupada says something. Let me just read a few sentences. Prabhupada says, Radharani is Hare Priya. I thought I saw Hare Priya. Or did she? Or she went back. Okay. Anyway, Radharani is Hare Priya. She's Hare Priya Devi Dasi, servant of Radharani. Radharani is Hare Priya, very dear to Krishna. So if we approach Krishna through the mercy of Radharani, then it becomes very easy. If Radharani recommends that this devotee is very nice, then Krishna immediately accepts, however fool I may be. If you go by the speculative process to understand Krishna, it will take many, many lives. But if you take devotional service, just try to please Radharani, and Krishna will be gotten very easily. So we should, particularly on this day, we should pray to Radharani and try to serve Radharani. We should definitely try and do this as a regular function. And if we really do that in a conscious way, then we will feel reciprocation. We'll definitely feel reciprocation in all sorts of wonderful ways. And therefore, devotees in general, historically, the devotees going back hundreds, even thousands of years, they worship Radharani. And they appeal to Radharani, please help me approach your beloved Lord Krishna. Because Radharani, like I said, she's overseeing. She's tuned in. She knows how all the devotees are doing. She knows how Sanjay Arjun is doing better than he knows. Yeah. She knows your mind, not just what you're doing physically, but she knows our minds. And she's very kind. She's very encouraging for the devotees, because she wants more devotees to do more for her beloved Krishna. So therefore the devotees traditionally going back, they always worship and pray to Radharani, please help me. You are the mother of devotion, so please help me to become a proper devotee. Not just a mixed up devotee, sometimes Krishna conscious and serious and chanting, and other times, well, I shouldn't say jolling, should I? But other times doing other things, Yeah. Watching Kuch Kuch Hota Hai. It is not recommended. Of course, it's too old now, isn't it? They wouldn't watch that. So the devotees, they take shelter of Radharani, pray to Radharani, and try and get the mercy and help of Radharani. And in this regard, and even Krishna, we know that Krishna became Lord Chaitanya. He took the avatar of Lord Chaitanya, in which he has taken the position of Radharani. He's accepted her mood, and he has accepted her. They're now two people in one. Two people. Radharani has entered Krishna, and therefore Krishna, as Lord Chaitanya, he's golden in color, because Radharani is there. So therefore it said, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Nahe Anya, which means that Lord Chaitanya, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, is Nahe Anya, none other than Radha and Krishna, together at one time, two people in one. A very transcendentally amazing situation. And there, Lord Krishna is experiencing, not just having Radharani there nearby and interacting, but is experiencing the being of Radharani. Yes, directly for himself. Because he understood this Radharani is the most incredible person, and she has so much love for me that even though I am all-knowing, I still don't know how much love she has. But I want to experience it. So Krishna wants to experience Srimati Radharani. I mean, all these things are just, from the material point of view, they're just completely incredible. But let me tell you a little story. This is a really nice story, which you may have heard, you may not have heard, some of you may have heard. But it's a story about one great devotee in our line named Jayadev Goswami. I mean, he became Goswami in his later years, but he was a married man, and he was living in the Mayapur area some of the time. He was living in the Navadvip area, in a place, if you're familiar with the Navadvip Mayapur area, a place called Champahati, which is still there with a very nice temple and beautiful old deities, and just very nice place. So Jayadev and his wife were living there. And Jayadev, he was a writer. Every day he would just sit and write. And then around midday or very early afternoon, he would go down to the Ganges, which was not far away, but maybe at most a kilometer, probably a little less. So to walk there, take a bath, come out, dry off, get yourself together, and come back home was a sort of half-hour, 45-minute type of operation. So he'd do that every day. So one day, he was writing, and somehow or other, this idea came over him. This idea came over him to express himself in a certain way. A verse, a new verse, just came into his mind without him sort of calculating the language and how to put the verse together and the grammar and all that. So that verse, and he did it, this verse just came without him really thinking, what am I trying to say? So the verse goes like this, the Sanskrit. Smaragara lakandanam, mama shirasi mandanam, dehi pada palavam udaram. In certain circles, this is a really famous verse. And the meaning is, and it is Krishna addressing Radharani, not someone addressing Krishna, but Krishna himself addressing Radharani, expressing his feelings, because he is loved and he loves. He's not just loved, and that's the end of it. He is loved and he loves. He reciprocates with the love. So Krishna reciprocates with the love of any devotee, but particularly Radharani. So it means the beautiful flower blossoms of your feet, Radharani, counteract the deadly poison of amorous love. They extinguish the terrifying fire of the pain of that love which rages within my heart. Therefore, please be kind and allow your feet to decorate my head. In other words, Krishna is saying, please put your feet on my head. And Krishna is God. And normally, you really don't put your feet on Krishna's head. You hope that Krishna will put his feet on your head. Yeah, give you some of the dust from his lotus feet on your head. But here, according to this verse which just came to Jayadev, Krishna's praying that you, Radharani, my devotee, please put your feet on my head because I love you so much that I love you so much it hurts, if you get the idea. I love you so much it hurts. So please ease the pain by putting your feet on my head. So this was before the time of Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya is 500 or so years ago, and Jayadev it's something like 700, 800 years ago, so quite well before Lord Chaitanya. And this idea of Krishna becoming a devotee and Krishna serving his devotees was not really so much there until Lord Chaitanya came. Lord Chaitanya, who, as we said, is Krishna, but in the mood of the devotee, in the mood of Radharani. Krishna in the mood of the lover of his devotee. So yes, somehow or other, Jayadev got that inspiration and he wrote the verse and just, like unconsciously, spontaneously. And then he looked at it and he thought, what? How did I write that verse? That as if Krishna is asking his devotee for the devotee to put their feet on his head, this is improper. This is improper. The devotee must ask Krishna to put his feet on the devotee's head. So this is improper. So what he did, you know what he did? In those days, they didn't have computers where you can just backspace or, select, delete, that sort of thing. They didn't even have, back in the somewhat old days, Tipex. You can white it out and type something over the top. He didn't even have a rubber to rub it out. What he did, it was actually written on a piece of tree bark. Means, it's something, it's not like a page, it's microns thick, but it's like half a centimeter thick or something like that. So he took a blade and he physically cut it out and physically removed it and discarded it, thinking that this is wrong. How could I have done? How did such an idea come to me? It's an offense. So then it was sort of midday or thereabouts. So he told his wife that I'm going to go, as I do, I'm going to go down to the Ganges. Please get lunch ready. I'll be back, in 45 minutes or so or something. And please get lunch ready and I'll be back and I'll see you then. So she was already cooking. Lunch was already basically close to ready. And so, but she's continuing just completing the cooking. And suddenly, 10 minutes later, Jayadev returned. And obviously there's been no time to go and bathe and everything and come back. And he was quite dry. But he said, as I was walking, I just got this inspiration and I just have to write it down. So here I am, let me write it down, and then I'll take lunch, and later I'll go and take bath. So, okay, he sat down and he wrote on that same piece of bark. He wrote something. His wife, Padmavati, she didn't see what he'd written, but he wrote. It just took a minute or two. And then he said, okay, let me take lunch. So he took lunch. And then, as soon as he finished lunch, after 15 minutes or 20 minutes or something, he said, okay, I'm going to the river to take bath, see you shortly. So off he went. Devotees, listen to this. Now I hope you can put this all together because it's a little complicated. Off he went. 5 minutes later, he returned with wet hair, because he had long hair, and carrying some wet, what he wore while he was bathing. 5 minutes, again, after he'd walked out. And the practice was in those days, at least in those days, still in India, it's still, the practice to a large degree or to some degree, that husband and wife, the wife cooks, the husband sits down, the wife serves the lunch, the meal to the husband eats, finishes, then the wife eats. Is it the practice in Peter Maritzburg? Oh, he's shaking his head. But it definitely was in those days, and it was considered like a bad show if the wife ate with the husband. It was just not really done because, she should look after him and see he's got what he needs, and then when that's taken care of, then she would eat. So now she had just served him lunch, right? Are you with me? So now she's sitting down eating lunch, and he's gone off to bathe, but 5 minutes later, in he comes, wet hair and some wet towel and so on. And he looks at her eating and says, what are you doing eating? I told you I'm going to take a bath, and I did, and here I am. And then I'd take lunch, and then, as always, then you would take your lunch. What are you doing eating now before me? And the wife, Padmavati, she was in shock. And she said, but you were here 5 minutes ago. You've been here you were here for the last half hour, because you said you came back as soon as you left to start off with. You came back and you said you had to write something, so you wrote it, and then you said you wanted lunch, so I served you lunch, and then just 5 minutes ago you went off to take bath. But now you're appearing wet, and so I'm taking lunch, and now you're getting upset with me because I'm eating before serving you lunch. What's wrong? And Jayadev, they're both just, they really don't know what's going on. And I hope you know what's going on and you're not lost in between the comings and goings. So Jayadev said, you mean What do you mean I came in and I wrote something? Where did I write something? And she said, just right there where you were writing before you went. And he looked at that place where he had cut out, physically cut out and thrown away what he felt was really wrong. And he saw the same thing was written there. Very, like I said, very famous in certain circles. Smara gara lakandanam, mama shirasi mandanam, dehi pada palavam udaram. The beautiful flower blossoms of your feet counteract the deadly poison of amorous love. They extinguish the terrifying fire of the pain of that love which rages within my heart. Therefore, please be kind and allow your feet to decorate my head, Srimati Radharani. So Jayadev looked at this, and then it all started falling into place. And he said, Padmavati, that was Krishna disguised as me. That was Krishna who came in the meantime. That was Krishna. And in order to confirm that it's right, he wrote exactly that. In the same place where I had previously cut it out and disposed of it. So really it's a fact that Krishna loves his devotees. Krishna loves Srimati Radharani so much that he wants the dust from her feet. Not like he's prepared to tolerate it, but he wants it. He's anxious to get the dust from the lotus feet of Srimati Radharani. Now, I hope you got that, and I didn't leave anyone, lost in the bush. But it's very deep. I like it very, very much. Krishna worships. Krishna does many things for his devotees, like in the battle of Kurukshetra, Krishna drove the chariot for Arjuna. For the whole 18 days of the battle, Krishna was driving the chariot, and Arjuna was saying, go this way, go that way, go faster, slow down. And Krishna is like Arjuna's ordering Krishna around, and Krishna was doing it because he had taken the position of being the servant of his devotee. Because Krishna likes being loved, and he likes expressing love in reciprocation. And that applies particularly to Srimati Radharani. Particularly to Srimati Radharani. Because she is the greatest. Like I said, she is a super being. She's not just the best amongst, the assembled devotees. She's a super entity. She's actually part of Krishna himself, his pleasure potency, but placed outside himself in order to enhance the experiences. So this is Radharani, and it's just glorious, actually. If we can tune in to Radharani, then what it'll do for us, for our Krishna consciousness, it will probably be revolutionary. Let me tell you another story, which, it's just different, but it's a really nice story. How Krishna one time tested Radharani, to see what is the depth of her love. It's a famous story. It's told by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. And there is a blessing. Listen to this. There's a blessing here. Anyone who faithfully hears or describes this pastime of the Supreme Lord with the gopis of Vraja attains supreme devotion to Krishna and quickly becomes free from the heart's disease of lust, becoming fixed in Krishna consciousness. So, please give your attention. Yeah, because it's true, it works. So in order to test Srimati Radharani, one day, Lord Krishna assumed the disguise and the form of a demigoddess, a female form. You might think that's a bit extraordinary. Well, it is. But Krishna does things like this. Sometimes he assumes disguises, including female disguises. Yeah, for different special interactions with Srimati Radharani. So Krishna assumed the disguise of a demigoddess and came to where Radharani and the gopis were gathered. And when Krishna entered in this female form, like totally convincing female form, completely convincing, Krishna was crying so badly, couldn't even speak, just in such extreme distress. Couldn't even speak, couldn't say anything, but very beautiful and beautifully dressed and presented, but in this extreme emotional condition, and just walked in to the assembly of Radharani and the gopis. And Srimati Radharani asked, "What's wrong?" But the demigoddess couldn't speak. And they tried to pacify her, put their arms around her and tell her it's all right, and ask her what happened. What happened? Yes. And then, after a while, Srimati Radharani massaged her a bit and pacified her to some degree, but not completely. And then Radharani asked, "Who are you?" And the demigoddess spoke. And the demigoddess said, "Well, I'm a demigoddess from the heavenly planets. And I watch you. And I watch what goes on in the Vrindavan area. I watch you. I watch Krishna. And I watch you do when you're together. And I watch what you do when you're not together, what Krishna does." And the demigoddess just started crying uncontrollably again. And Radharani pacified her. And don't forget, the demigoddess is Krishna. And he's testing Radharani. So Radharani again pacified her, and said, "Now please tell me just what is the matter." So the demigoddess said, all right. The thing is, like I said, I watch you and I watch Krishna from above, and I see what happens, and I see what he does when he's not with you. And when you don't see what he's doing, and you don't know what he's doing, but I see, I know, and I see that he is not faithful to you. He is unfaithful. he's with you, and he says he loves you, and you're the only one, and all that sort of thing. And then he says, oh, my mother is calling, I've got to go. And he just goes and meets with another one of the girls. But he doesn't tell you that. So he's unfaithful. He's cheating you. And therefore I'm so upset, because I see how nice you are. You're just such a kind and gentle and faithful person, but you are being mistreated by him. So therefore, Radharani, my advice to you is, leave him. Leave this Krishna. Just get away from him. Because I've seen it with my own eyes many times, this sort of thing happening. Yeah, and Radharani said, well, no, it's not really like that. I understand he meets with other girls. But the thing is that so many of them, they actually love him. It's not lust. It's not lust. They just want to grab hold of him physically. It's not like that. They love him. Means they want to serve him and please him. And he loves me a lot more, but still they love him and he loves them, because Krishna is loved and he reciprocates with love. So that's what it is. And she said, actually, their love for him is something like a mustard seed. And my love for him is like Mount Meru. And Mount Meru is much bigger than Mount Everest. Yeah. And if you want to hear something extraordinary, Srila Prabhupada was flying over the Swiss Alps one time with this one devotee who told me the story, he was with Prabhupada. And they're flying over the Swiss Alps, which are, they're not the Himalayas, but still they're pretty substantial. Prabhupada's by the window, he's looking out, and Prabhupada said, there is one mountain here. It is 100,000 miles high. And he looked at the assistant like, okay? And the assistant went like, well, like, you're kidding me, sort of thing. And Prabhupada got a bit angry. And Srila Prabhupada said, I have seen it. Devotees on that level have higher types of perception. But anyway, back to the story. Mount Meru makes Mount Everest look like this hill over the back. I don't know if any of you have climbed the hill over the back. To be honest, I doubt it. But I think it'd be good exercise for you. But anyway, yeah, Mount Meru makes Mount Everest look like a hill. So Radharani said like that, their love for him is like a mustard seed, whereas mine is like Mount Meru. But still, I know they sincerely love him. And it's not just lust, or they're not trying to steal him away from me or something. So therefore, I know it, and I put up with it. I tolerate it, because I know that his love for me is actually sincere. Then the demigoddess, and don't forget who the demigoddess is. The demigoddess said, well, all right, I don't know about that actually, but okay, for the time being, let's say we'll think about that. But what about when he abandoned you in the rasa dance? What about that? he just left you and off he went. And Srimati Radharani said that, the thing is, you got to understand what happened. That he wanted to be with me because our relationship is special. So he left the others just to be with me. And then the demigoddess said, but then he left you. What you got to say about that? And Radharani said that the thing is, what happened was that the other gopis were running, following us, and they were going to catch us, and they were angry with Krishna that you left us. What are you doing? And you left us and you ran off with her. So they're going to be angry with him. They're going to be angry with me. So therefore, he left me so that they would not be angry with me, so that they would feel sorry for me because I also got abandoned. And then at least there'd be a possibility when we find him of continuing with the rasa dance. So the demigoddess said, well, if you insist, I'll accept what you say. But how do you know? Did he tell you that he was leaving you for that reason? Did he tell you? And Srimati Radharani said to the demigoddess, no, he didn't tell me. But the thing is, I know what he thinks because I'm part of him. I'm part of him. So I know what he thinks. Therefore, I know that's what he was thinking. And the demigoddess, and don't forget who's the demigoddess. The demigoddess said, what? You're part of him? Oh, please, don't tell me things like that. You're just carried away. You're just one of these dizzy girls. Just thinks her young guy is a prince or a Superman or at least a Batman. But actually he's just a typical goofy young guy. So the demigoddess said, oh, come on, don't tell me that. That you, Radharani said, yes, we are one soul. We are one soul, one person in two bodies. So I know how he feels. Therefore, you're saying he's unfaithful and he's not good to me, but I know how he feels. And not because of what he says to me, but because I know his mind. Because his mind is my mind. So I actually know. And the demigoddess said, well, if that's the case, call him here right now. Right now. I want to see you. Call him here right now from wherever he is. But it's the demigoddess. So Radharani said, all right, I will. I'll call him here right now. And she sat down like in a sort of yogic position, cross-legged, closed her eyes and like went into meditation. And the demigoddess suddenly felt this power just overpower her. And suddenly the demigoddess transformed into Krishna. And all the other gopis who are watching this, they're all just astonished. But Krishna said, just don't say anything. Don't say anything. So Radharani was like that for a little while. Then she came back to external consciousness, and there's Krishna. And speaking as if she's speaking to the demigoddess, who's no longer present, of course. Radharani said, see, there he is. I called him. There he is. Is that not proof enough, demigoddess? And she looked around, there's no demigoddess. And she asked the other gopis, where did she go? And the gopis said, well, she told us she had a very important appointment. She just had to go immediately, and she went. Yes. So, and Krishna complained, listen, I was there herding the cows, minding my own business, and suddenly I find I'm here. What are you doing? Are you doing some muti on me? Or what are you doing? How could you do that to me? Anyway, that's the story of Krishna as the demigoddess, and how we see that actually Radha and Krishna, they are one person in two forms. Therefore, the relationship is so extremely deep and profound. So devotees, there are many pastimes. We could spend a whole lot of time just going through different pastimes. But we'll leave it for some other time. But we must, we owe it to ourselves, we have to develop our relationship with Srimati Radharani. In one sense, it's easier if you visit the Radharani temple in Durban and Chatsworth regularly, because she's there. But you can also, you have pictures of Radharani, and there's so many pictures available. I don't know if you saw the picture I put up on Facebook this morning of Radharani on the altar there. But if you remember her, she's there in your prayers if you pray to her. But please, for your own sake, to enrich your Krishna consciousness and just deepen your whole experience in life in Krishna consciousness, try to develop your relationship with Srimati Radharani in the sense of asking her for help to become a better devotee of her beloved Lord Krishna. And if you do like that, she's so ready to help someone who wants to become a better devotee of her beloved Lord Krishna. And she'll help you, and you'll see it. And you'll understand Krishna consciousness is not just a belief system. As Prabhupada would say if he was asked on some occasions, what do you believe? In Krishna consciousness, what do you believe? Prabhupada would generally answer, we don't believe anything. We know. So by doing things like this, you will get experience, concrete experience, which deepens your Krishna consciousness, and then you'll know that it's all real. Hare Krishna. Srimati Radharani ke. Sri Radhastami Mahotsava ke. Srila Prabhupada ke.